Hearing Marianne talk about the captain, it really is. It's such an interesting thing because it's like she comes to study and learn about Pakistan at the time where she's confronted with the worst of human nature and a certain side of the world.
He's a proud man. He loves his job, and that's what he likes to claim, that he loves his job. And it seems that he is in love with his job, and he is concerned about his country's name. And he comes from a family who has name and who has honor, and they give a lot of value to honor in Pakistan. And he's very concerned about Marianne. He's saying, God is raining. God is coming down with the rain.
And I like that idea that Captain wouldn't be someone necessarily who would be like trying to make you trust him by talking all the time. Because I think talking is a very bad thing to do, and I prefer not to talk personally. And so I kind of thought that he would have that kind of presence on screen, as he's shown in the past in films he's done.
Then he was not a religious man, but he's Jewish by birth.
Okay. Who else was this?
He didn't advertise it, but he would never deny if somebody asked him.
Okay, but don't tell anybody.
I think also perhaps that what she did was she just picked someone to trust, and by putting her trust in Captain and the rest of the people in the house, the Pakistani police in the house, that in a way that encouraged them to live up to that, in a sense, and working together from all sorts of backgrounds and from across both sides of the kind of cultural and national divide.
You cannot fool us and find us. We're inside seas, oceans, hills, graveyards, everywhere. This cycle will continue, and no American journalist could enter Pakistan.
The actions they take being so disgusting in the name of faith. At that exact time, she meets somebody who is the best example of that faith and that part of the world and that type of man. It is so perfect and it is so important.
We'll find you, Danny. You must take care of yourself and the baby.
Generally, when I make films, it's the kind of small crews and so on, and a very simple kind of way of filming. I think Angelina kind of bought into that idea from the beginning, so that we were working, in India in a house. It was like, 20 people on set or whatever. It was all very low key, and Angelina was like in virtually every shot of the film.
Okay, we cut.
We spent 5 weeks in a house shooting the inside of the house, which is probably a week longer than actually the story sort of takes place. When we're filming, we often do a 5 or 6 minute take, and everyone's still sitting around, sort of doing their own thing. And Angelina, all the way through the shoot, was like the first person to be on set. Was like completely in the spirit of the filming, and created a great atmosphere in the house with the other cast members. And I think, in a way, she was at the forefront of getting the right atmosphere on set, in the same way that Marianne had been in the house.
He's Al-Qaeda.
He has connections, yes, we know he has connections, but...
Close connection, it says. To Al-Qaeda.
I personally like shooters in and about going into streets and public places and shooting handheld and not controlling things, and virtually no lights, if any at all. On the house set in India, which is where we shot the interior of the house, obviously being inside a house, which is a very controlled environment anyway, and having quite long scenes to do, which you kind of wanting to have some sort of continuity of light. We had slightly more lights knocking around, tried to keep the set clear, but have lights from the outside. So we had a bit more of a crew knocking around doing his lights. So you're sneaking, because I think if you're back here, because they're so obscure, I think you feel like you wouldn't see them from there, rather than feeling like we're using the door to head. But then we were on HD camera, which, from my view, keeps the advantage that you can shoot for a long time and shoot continuously and so on. And also because we're handheld, from Mosaad's point of view, he has quite a big camera on his shoulder, and I still like to shoot as much as possible of the day, but he's young, he can handle it.
His DP, Marcel Ziskin, is just, the guy's like 25 years old. I mean, he's unbelievable. He can make, like a flashlight and a video camera, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. But the camera kind of roves around, and you're never repeating the same setups more than a couple of times, and you can do anything you want. It's very, very freeing.
You never know where the camera's going to be. He starts filming the minute you come on set. Like, there's not really any rehearsal. You're all of a sudden filming the rehearsal, which is very exciting, and you never know when your close-up is happening. I mean, you could be like, maybe thinking you're looking over here, you're completely relaxed, and that's when your close-up's happening. Don't you collapse now. Everybody else can collapse, but not you. Don't you collapse. Pakistani authorities are they're very embarrassed by this, and they are not going to go easy on the bad guys, I'll tell you that right now.
You never shoot like this. You never do the whole scene in one take. So the situation grows and the situation just pulls you in, because in all the takes, he's not taking cuts. In fact, you are performing the scene 5, 6, 7, 8 times. So as you start doing different takes, the character also grows, and you also discover certain things which you can do in other takes.
The idea is that it should just be as transparent as possible, really, as simple as possible. So this story essentially is a group of people in a house. And so in terms of the lighting or design or the performances or the sound even, the idea is to just keep it as natural as possible, to make it feel as direct as possible. And obviously, because the camera's handheld, it means that the actors can kind of do what they want to do, and we can follow them and adjust with them.
Why Danny?
The Journal a few weeks ago handed over to the CIA a computer which had information about Richard Reed and his attempts to blow up the American airline flight.
And then you guys told everyone that you did that.
Just doing this doesn't radically make a difference to your film, but it means they feel relaxed and they can do what they want to do. And, and Marcel can just adjust.
We turned the computer over because we had no choice.
Okay.
It's a matter of national security.
Okay, to an outsider, it could look like the CIA are in bed with the Journal.
Right. Just because
So what, do you think it's no factor?
I don't think it's a factor. I don't think Danny was taken because he worked for the Wall Street Journal.
We don't know.
They know where he works, and they say CIA. It's something.
And also, being handheld, you tend to be in with the group more. If you go long lens, you can go further back and so on. Handheld tends to be wider lens, in touch, closer. So perhaps you slightly more sense of being in and amongst the conversation rather than watching it from the outside. We shot pretty much in sequence. So the idea was that the people start at the beginning of the film, they don't know each other, and the actors don't know each other. By the end of the film, the actors know each other very well, and the characters are supposed to be brought together by this experience and feel close.
We had informed the U.S. that if our demands were not met within 24 hours, we would kill Daniel Pearl. Now Mr. Bush can find his body in the graveyards of Karachi. We've thrown him there.
Do we think it's another hoax?
We call Captain.
He gives you space, there's no lights, there's nothing to look, it's false, and he allows you to explore it. There are no limitations, you can go here, you can go anywhere.
Is Daniel Pearl still alive?
The script is more of a guideline. There's so many things which Michael has in his hand, So it's more of a guideline for the actors. It's a ground for them to stand, then from there they will take off.
We're all developing as characters, and as new characters come into the house. But sometimes you sit there going, I just can't remember what's happening in the script. And then you forget that these are just normal human beings, and each one of them has their own personal tragedy and their own personal life going on at the same time.
He won't come back. His family will never let him come back. Some intelligence guys went over to his house, said I was some kind of an Indian spy, and then they'd make a big scandal for his family.
We're playing against our own instinct. It's not that it's not easy, it's very challenging. Normally, you have your breaks and you have time off, and with this, it's a 24-hour job, and you have to become obsessed with the role or the film, I think, if you're working on a film like this. I like that, because it's not about a job, it's about really getting into the heart and soul of that character.
We've also issued a statement saying that Danny did not work for the government, that Danny did not work for the CIA. The CIA has then agreed to issue a statement confirming that.
They're going to confirm that publicly?
Yeah.
And imagine there's like 10 or 15 characters in the film, and I think he knows those characters inside out. The
most kind of useful thing from that point was just talking to people, mainly talking to Marianne about her experience and what happened from her point of view. But then also, especially in terms of the investigation and trying to understand the investigation, talking to Captain. I then went to Pakistan and met up with all the people in the house who were based in Pakistan. So Masood, the fixer who'd arranged Danny's interviews, Captain, Dost, Jamil Yusuf, who runs CPLC, all the kind of main characters met and interviewed them. And obviously they had extra bits of information, or sometimes memories that slightly were at variance with Marianne's memories. And then in America met up with Randall Bennett and Bossy and Levine. In the end, so met all the characters who were around Marianne in the house. And from their accounts, sort of adjusted.